that being said, I mean, we gotta, like anything, you gotta keep someone, you know, keep an honest man honest, you gotta watch him.
correct,
I mean, we do that with all the projects in the state, they all have clerk of the works or some type of contract administrator that's keeping an eye on, you know, to make sure that they follow the plans, they're using the right materials, right fasteners, all that kind of stuff, and they're also one signing off on where that 70% might be, you know, cause that's kind of those figures up.
Yeah, you're probably gonna want his input anyways, to
Absolutely.
decide
That's-
where you're gonna release whatever payments.
Yep.
okay,
That's-
get John involved with that.
Yeah.
I did give him a set of the plans, asked him to look at it, but, I don't know that I don't know if he didn't respond back to me about it, so I'll follow up with that.
Yeah, as building inspector, I mean, you know, if we can task, you know, not to throw more on his plate, but I mean, you know, it's kinda really up his alley
Yeah.
as an inspector.
Now, I know that Joel Fisher, had inquired,
Mhm.
or he answered one of the questions that the contractor had
Mhm.
regarding the type of material, whether it had to be historic or aged or some kind of special,
Yes.
lumber, and, he asked when the work was going to be done. Are we gonna look to have him do a final inspection?
Well,
or
didn't
do
we pay for him to do that, do an inspection as well?
That is separate, so it would be billed for additional work.
I think my honest opinion, I mean, we have John keep an eye on them, and when they get to that certain point where it's time for either, you know, like a final inspection, I wouldn't have a problem with having him come and just put his, eyeballs on it and give it, you know, its blessing, cause he is the engineer of record. And
But do you think he will do that without us installing the work over the doors?
Or not, it's part of the project.
Yeah,
I mean, he's
You're,
blessing stuff.
you're just limiting him
To
to
that.
how much we're doing, but
Right.
that's still part of his project, and
Right.
he's got a lot more expertise. I'm gonna say,
Mhm.
you know, give John credit, but
Yep, absolutely.
again, he may not know what he's looking at.
yeah, yeah,
It may look like it's constructed properly and maybe engineered, so
yeah,
Yes.
okay,
for the little bit you're gonna spend to make a trip,
yeah,
And he can sign off on the stuff that, you know, is being done, he's not signing off on the stuff that hasn't been done yet, he's only
Right.
signing off on what
When
was
that's
complete,
done. Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
so,
and we would've done this anyways,
Yeah,
because he had, noted that he was gonna make several trips
yep,
in the
Yeah.
process, so.
absolutely, I mean, yeah, I mean, if there's, we have to review his, contract and all that stuff, but if there is some trips in there that we've already paid for potentially, we'll use them as well, you know, you can work with John, you know, in conjunction.
I'd have to look at his invoice.
Yeah, I don't remember, it's been
I
a while,
don't think, I think the only thing he billed us for was for the
plans,
time that he had in reviewing the plan.
I think so, cause I think he said there was gonna be additional
Yeah,
when he
Yeah.
started to come out, so,
Mhm.
I mean, having him oversee it at the end,
Mhm.
prior to the final payment,
Yes,
right.
yes,
prior to the
Yeah.
final payment, at least is gonna make sure that it's done according to
Well,
what
I'll make
it's-
sure I include that in the addendum,
Mhm.
that, final payment will not be released until, engineer inspects.
So that at least
signs
it's
off.
in compliance with, I mean, I'm looking at the amount of money for labor, and it's not a big amount of money, so
Yeah,
holding something away from someone,
right,
that's that minuscule.
it gives them some skin in the game though, that they're gonna
Right,
take.
so
into
this
account.
way here, he knows that there's somebody that's gonna be looking over his shoulder anyways.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I feel more comfortable releasing that last payment after the engineer signs off on it, absolutely, I think it's a great idea. Cause then that way, you know, they get some skin in the game, yes,
Yeah.
and they know they're not gonna get paid till,
And we know that it was done according to what
Yep.
the engineer wanted, you
Right.
know?
okay,
exactly. So that way, when it falls down around our ears in 100 years, the insurance company will pay for it. They said in 100 years, we won't be here.
I
Well,
think,
I plan to be.
Yeah, but you'll be over there.
I think where we erred was
Mhm,
the actual installation of the roof, cause
mhm,
it would have been nice, at least for a year, to
mhm,
withhold some monies
yeah,
to make sure that if anything does happen, that you have something that you're holding over the person's head, you know, but,
So they
you
weren't
take
paid
a
for
couple
you.
of steps at a time and you learn.
Yep.
as you move
So-
forward.
That's not big money, I mean, if we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars,
But 68,000 for a roof
Oh,
is
yeah.
substantial, you know.
no, I meant for
think.
this project is, you
Right.
know,
But for what he's got in here,
yeah.
and I think, what is it, probably about 10 or 11,000?
Mhm.
Yeah, there's not a lot
There's
of
not a
wiggle
whole
room.
lot of money to,
No,
Right,
for somebody to work several weeks and then find that they haven't made much because you're holding part of it back.
right,
well, it looks like they're gonna be in and out here pretty quick, I mean, there's only
Yeah.
talking like
Yeah.
start 15 days and within 30 days be complete, so it's
Yeah.
not like talking a 2-week project
Right.
turnaround time.
yeah,
So it sounds to me like they want to just get in, get out and get it done.
Yeah.
Which works and, so that being said, I think we ought to table this until next week and make sure we get the town attorney sign off on it, make the
Yeah.
changes that we've talked about.
yeah,
I'll
the
give you
addendum,
this back.
yep.
Yeah.
Can you give me your notes so I can make sure I don't miss anything?
Absolutely, let me just make sure I put all this back together so I don't take and get the wrong stuff from the wrong pile on you. So I can screw that up just as quick. Put that there, so it stays there. Those are my notes.
Okay.
Okay. That's right. So we good on that, table next week?
Yeah, that's fine.
And then we'll get going, I mean,
Yep.
to delay it, it'd be nice to do it tonight, but,
Yeah, I only got it today, so.
yeah, so. It is what it is.
Yeah.
One more week ain't gonna kill us, but if things go well, we can
You
execute.
know, and you have some changes, Brian, that you're adding into it.
Yeah.
And he has to agree to those
Yeah.
too, so.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
so, all things being with, yeah, looking at the calendar, if we can get agreement and sign off on it next Thursday, they get 15 days to start, and then they get 30 day, you know, and then the 30-day mark, that's supposed to be finished, they could put the roof on in November.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
So they wanna let our contractor know that, you know,
The roofer?
the roofer,
I
yeah,
already have.
okay,
I asked him to order the material. I said we're working on the contract this week.
so he, yeah, if he's
It's gonna
good,
take a few weeks for that anyway.
Yeah. exactly, so he's good with that? Beautiful. Alright, maybe this might come together after all.
Be nice to go hold our head high at
Yeah.
town meeting.
we might even be able to come down Ray Road over the new bridge.
Yeah, that would be really good.
Yeah. That would be awesome. I'm not gonna hold my breath on that one. One thing at a time, otherwise we're choking. Alright, moving on here, we got an email today from Stacy Herbal from DES. Did you get a chance to read it?
That's is that
Water.
the one on the water?
Yes.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Yeah, cause, I went through this and read a whole bunch of them at home for today.
Just an email.
Yeah, it's an email, but, yeah, it just came in today, you probably don't have it.
It says new on it. You see the word new written on it, John? Corinne?
Yeah, I'm nice tonight. Yeah, I got it.
Okay. He asked me to print it off
Yep.
just before the meeting. I had forwarded it to the planning and he wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's relevant, cause I mean, we know we're in a water restriction ban, you know, drought, extreme drought.
You actually,
Dunbarton is right in the red, we're in the extreme drought section.
and you actually have some people in town whose wells are not artesian wells, but wells are compromised, you know?
Yeah, I've gotten one call this week.
So you know a few that have been compromised?
Linda's well was compromised. They have to just take showers and very
Well,
few, and they have to haul water.
Yours is yeah, cause you said that last week, I think you said you shut off your laundry room, right?
I stopped tenants from doing laundry, it's cleared up, so it's making up for the loss. I just shutting off the laundry room was a big help.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you looked at my ponds, you'd see how low they really are.
So, that's why I figured we probably ought to maybe touch on it tonight. So, we're in the definite red zone of the extreme drought. I went through and read the information. RSA 41:11B actually gives us authority, provided we go through the proper channels of advertising, to make a town ordinance separate from the town meeting requirements. Because the state has established that there is a drought, and once the state or federal government establishes the drought, we can take and, as the governing body, decide on an ordinance and put it in place to restrict water use, even in private wells. So, question being is, I don't know if you have any thoughts on it or not, or if we should consider it or not, or just take it under advisement. I'm not really, personally, in my opinion, not a big fan of going around being big brother and watching people water
No.
lawns, but then again, if we're all pulling from the same aquifer, or,
We may wanna, you may wanna start out with asking people to
Mhm.
try to restrict the use of water, because we are in a drought
yeah,
area
I'm good with that.
who has residents that have wells that are compromised.
Yeah.
You know, cause that's the beginning, cause most of them right now are
Mhm.
dug wells, and I don't know if yours are artesian.
Mine's artesian and
Yeah, and you may
I've
not
already-
be, you may not be that deep or the
Yeah.
aquifer, no?
yeah, I'm 550 feet,
Wow,
but I stopped watering, I use my dehumidifier water to water my flowers. I run no
Yeah, I'm gonna get
hoses.
much more of that pretty soon, the air is gonna dry up here.
so, and the other thing is the gallons per minute you were getting,
I
you
mean,
know,
like I
with
said,
the
everything
drought,
looks fine
it's
now, but
probably
I'm still not over it.
reduced, you know?
It's just,
Yeah.
I think, limiting, asking people about the outside water here.
So, I mean, I just wanted to bring it up as, have the discussion that, at least we're doing our due diligence and considering, not just ignoring it.
We may wanna ask, the
Mhm.
residents to restrict
Mhm.
to try to restrict the usage of their water. Cause, there are some people pointing out that in one area of town, people are watering their lawns,
Mhm.
and meanwhile, the dug wells
They're suffering.
are suffering, so.
Well then, yeah, cause I mean, well then we can keep this in our back pocket if it gets any worse, an actual ordinance, that is.
Right, right. Cause I'm in the same place as you are. It's kinda hard to tell people you can't do this and you can't do that. If it got critical,
Yeah,
cause we've gone in the past, I grew up, we were on dug well
Yeah,
before
same
we went
here.
to artesian well, and,
same
in
here.
hot summer times, it went down, you were
Mhm.
careful with what you used, because you
Absolutely.
didn't wanna abuse the water system, but.
So you went every 2 weeks on a bath.
But, again, I think that my parents or
Mhm.
other people in that generation
Yep.
would have taken offense to someone saying, you can't.
Mhm.
So asking, recommending that they not to begin with, I think isn't a bad thing to do.
I would agree. Maybe we can put something
On the website?
maybe like a banner front and center or something like that.
Yeah, right now I have Halloween there, but I can,
Well, no, you get the pictures that are scrolling at the top, maybe you take the pictures off temporarily and put something there,
do
asking
you
them.
really want me to mess with that?
We pay Mr.
I can ask him to put a scrolling message on
Yeah.
there, and then base it on,
This
a
information here.
recommendation from, was it DES? No.
DES and the board, us as the board of selectmen asking the people to take and.
Consider
Yeah, consider it.
conserving,
Heed,
water.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
okay. See if I
Um,
can
A
find
recommendation
Yep.
is made that in the town, we may wanna restrict water usage. Cause in that paperwork you got,
mhm.
I think it asked us to provide them
Yep.
with a place for them to,
Mhm.
be able to use water.
Yep.
And I don't know how the town's situated, and I don't know if the town gets compromised.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask you, maybe to invoke the emergency management director to take and have plans ready to go with, we get some calls of wells compromised to the point where they need, drinking water and stuff like that, we supply it.
Right, right.
So he's on notice that we may need to do that. Hopefully we won't have to, but it could happen. And if we could probably throw the map up there, and highlight Dunbarton, so, we're right in the red right there,
Yeah, yeah,
so.
well, that's why I printed that in color, I
Yep.
could scan it in color too, or PDF it and,
Or however he wants to do it.
yeah,
Ask John as the emergency management director to, make sure he has plans in place so we can supply water however we need to, whether it's the fire station or other town sources. So just in case.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would really be horrible, especially going in the fall, it's gonna be dry.
Yeah, it's a day or two of rain that's gonna cure the
No.
problem.
It's not, you said?
No,
No.
it's not gonna be a day or two of
Well, we
rain.
just got, what, about 2.5 inches of rain the other day,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Things
I'm
are still.
noticing a lot of, well, mine are just flowers and I haven't watered them, but everything is just dropping leaves, it's just like,
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
leaves are dropping already.
yeah.
I think foliage is not gonna be as pretty this year, at least in this neck of the woods.
You have the city of Manchester, it's Lake Massabesic, it's dropped 49 inches.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, and,
That's a
you know, and they're considering possibly, you know, restricting water usage only because they're concerned with, you know, how it gets compromised,
I don't know why they haven't, I mean, cause, well, you get all these blue and black dots are the ones that have put in it. Bowa's got, 2 restrictions, let's see, Goffstown's got a restriction, let's see, Hooksett has got a restriction, you know, so the towns surrounding us, Hopkinton's got one in the corner. Ware's got a couple, so just about everybody around us has
Yeah.
got restrictions except us
Mhm.
in Manchester. So, you know, so for the beginning, I guess I concur with
But-
Bob that we, let's,
But I'd like to give
Ask.
them the
Yeah.
opportunity to try to
Right.
do it on their own, you know,
Yeah,
and,
yeah, see if things change.
we don't have any way to pass, you know, to they can really broadcast that, do we? I know we talked about how to reverse 911 type of thing, you know,
An email,
yeah,
I know,
oh well,
no, that would be technology that was working on something
Yep.
like that, but I don't think they ever.
gotcha. Yeah, I think it was part of the.
They were trying to reach out to the library, they didn't wanna share
It's
their.
part of the website enhancements we were looking at.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, it was, yep.
That's gonna go nowhere, as long as we have to pay for that roof. So, that's the mailbox. So,
Okay,
go around the table, start off with you.
alright, I just have, just wanted to let the board know that I had heard back from the staff attorney from Primex. She said she will gladly review that policy for us, but she would be out of the office today and tomorrow, but returning on Monday, and she would get back to us, so I'll have a response or something for you to
next week.
look at next week. I just wanted to bring you up to date with the transfer station, the transfer station informed me, that they were not able to pick up the trash at the school on
Okay.
Saturday. They got really, really busy as soon as they opened the gates. By the time they had free time, customers were telling them that they were setting up for the parade and traffic was not allowing traffic through. So then Griffin went to the school at the regular pickup on Tuesday. I did communicate to the transfer station on Tuesday morning. I got a call from the school on Monday to say that they had not picked up the trash on Saturday. So I was following up with finding out why that occurred.
Yep.
And that's when they informed me about the parade, which makes sense.
Yep.
Griffin also wanted us to know that, he's getting calls daily from the school asking for pickups every day that we're open. So right now, we're having to pick up trash Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Because, they're still shorthanded, it's problematic because when they call, they want the call immediately. Let's see here. Griffin said that it's just stressful because they'll get the call and they feel that they have to drop everything and just get to the school immediately. Otherwise they get mad at them, so they're having this little bit of a conflict between the two of them. Because they're shorthanded, the time that one person's away from the transfer station sets them back to have to get caught back up.
Have you had any conversation with the principal?
Not yet, we have a meeting next week with the school board here, they're on the agenda for next week, so I was hoping to bring it up with them as well. In the meantime, I did,
Well, you can always reach out to Owen ahead of time. and
oh,
just, you know,
absolutely,
But, yeah, we can also bring it up with them with you.
right, where there's too many chiefs, I didn't wanna step on everybody's toes. I have a meeting with Woody on a weekly basis, I had planned on discussing it with him.
Yep.
And then on the other hand, also, you had provided me with, vendors for researching dumpsters. This might be,
Yep.
a good reason
Opportunity.
for us to move in that direction. I don't know the outcome of it.
Yep.
Woody is, I've asked him to research those vendors, to reach out to them and get some information for us to talk about. So, that's where we're at. They said they'll try to continue to do the best they can, but they have to understand that they're short-handed.
Absolutely,
And they can't always drop everything just to get out.
and nor should they, I mean, they need to
Yeah.
go when they have the opportunity, I mean, also,
Yeah.
I think we, do the best when we can, but,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, it's not just because, we're at their beck and call.
Yeah.
I mean, what's your thoughts?
No, they have to cut them a little bit of slack, because
Yeah.
Absolutely.
they can only get there when they can get there.
Yeah. I'll send a message off to Owen,
Yeah,
asking him to communicate to the janitor, just to be patient.
yeah,
Again, I'd like to bring it
Mhm.
up with the school
Oh,
board, because
absolutely.
they need to know that,
Mhm.
it may or may not be working out, I don't know, how the
absolutely.
board feels, or where it's gonna, what direction it's gonna go, so,
Oh, we got a discussion with them next week as well. so,
Yeah. yeah.
that sounds good.
And with that said, then, it leads into something. They had the ham and bean supper, but it doesn't make any difference what entity would
Oh,
be
that's right,
using
yeah.
that. But that puts a lot of pressure, and, unfortunately, I don't know if they leave everything there to be picked up during the week, and if they do, it'd have been nice for a change, because of the situation we're in,
Mhm.
that they didn't make arrangements to have it taken there
Mhm.
by one of their members, or
Yep.
whoever,
Mm,
cause that's a strain that
Yep.
is endured by the few people that you have trying to,
That's
Control
probably
the
what
transfer
caused the
station.
janitor to take and be panicky, because he probably came in and saw that whole pile of stuff from Saturday night.
yeah, yeah.
That's a good
But
possibility.
in the case of the Saturday pickup, I don't believe that the ham and bean supper would've,
Mhm.
the trash would've happened until the end of the day.
well, and that's what
You
I'm
know,
saying.
so
I-
the Monday trash or
What I'm
Tuesday pickup
saying
would've
though
been
is you
there.
have that, and then you have Mondays
Yeah.
on top, and somebody comes out and sees
Mhm.
a lot of stuff there.
Yeah,
And maybe at some point in time, whether it's a school or the select board,
Mhm.
yeah,
any entity that's using that should
Yeah.
take
Yep.
care of their own garbage, because we're paying to take everything away with
Yeah.
the people we have.
yeah,
And
yeah,
especially now,
they should.
now highlights it, because you have very few people working at
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
transfer station, so.
So perhaps they have to revise their policy that any trash in, trash out.
It's the school board's policy, I think it's
Yeah.
incumbent
Yeah.
on them, because they're inside,
Yeah,
so, yeah, we'll definitely bring it up with them and
next week, yeah.
see where we.
Cause it may not just, I'm not trying to pick on one entity, I'm trying to say,
Yeah, yeah.
anybody that's gonna use that for a
Yeah.
It
function,
could be
Yeah.
basketball, it
Yeah.
could be softball, it could
they
be,
should,
whatever.
they should be taking it away.
Absolutely. Yep, that's not a bad idea. Or we get a dumpster and it's easy, it goes in the dumpster and end of story, it's picked up.
But in the end though, again, depending on how much is
What?
generated,
Mm,
we pay for it,
We pay for it regardless.
you know?
Yeah, I think we're gonna pay for it whether it's there or in somebody's personal
Well,
trash can,
if
'cause
somebody
they're gonna
take,
end up
but
taking.
if someone takes it to the transfer station from whatever entity, somebody
Mhm.
takes it off there,
Yeah,
that's one trip that isn't being made, that
Okay.
isn't compromised, because
okay,
someone's got, I don't know, you could have an occasion there where they fill, they have a small dumpster, we'll say, 3 yard or whatever, and they fill half of it,
Yeah.
or most of it.
and it's only Monday, so
You
you have
know?
4 more days and it's gonna be filled,
And then you get the school
Overfill.
saying,
Yeah.
how'd this get full?
yeah, yeah,
Well, definitely, like I say, that's part of it.
So, as far as this rec center, when someone's using it, I think if you're not part of the school and you're not part of the town, then you're outside of that umbrella,
yeah,
and you have to take care of your own trash.
yeah,
No, they'd have to be part of the town to be using the rec center. You can't be outside of the town.
I don't know,
Are you talking about a citizen show?
Hmm?
citizens
Well,
or?
that's what I'm asking, I'm trying to get a clarification, cause I
Yeah.
mean, I'm thinking outside of town, be outside of Dunbarton, like say,
No, I
Where?
mean outside of
Committee
the
or,
town government or the school
Sanctioned.
Well,
government,
the rec
okay?
commission, I mean, the rec commission, that's part of us, and they do basketball all winter long. I mean, hard saying not knowing if someone has a, you know, the ability to take and throw all that trash in on a late Saturday and get it down there in time. You know, games can go to 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Well, I don't know how they've rented it out in the past, I mean, you could say, well, and I'll use an example, what if it's the Girl Scouts or the 4-H? They're part of the town community,
Yeah,
but they're not town sanctioned,
gotcha, okay, no, that's good to know, now I know what you mean, okay,
you know, so
Yep.
that's outside that scope, but they could be having a breakfast there.
Yep.
You know, and it could be,
mhm,
it could have a good turnout,
Mhm.
and they generate a lot of trash. One bag is one thing, you know, but a number, if you have a number of bags, I mean,
yeah,
you got a question, Leo?
Are they charged to use the community center or not?
I don't think so, but I'm not, it's not,
It's the school.
it's the
Yeah,
school's
right,
uh,
okay, so I
policy,
just-
so I
they,
really
you don't know, okay, I just
Yeah.
thought if they're not paying, then I guess it'd be all right if they did take care of that.
Mhm.
But if they're paying, maybe that's part of the package,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
They don't pay.
I don't think they do. If someone's had like a funeral or a breakfast after, you know, some kind of gathering for a
Mhm.
family
Yep.
Yeah.
emergency type
Yeah.
thing, I don't think they charge anything for that. They just have to sign out and fill out the form.
All right,
Yeah.
okay.
so I'm not attacking any groups in
Yeah.
town. My concern
Yeah.
is,
Mhm.
you got two people working at the transfer station. One guy's gone, the other guy's alone,
Yep.
Yeah.
you know?
I don't like that
So
situation.
if he spends a lot of time up here
Yep.
and then goes back,
Mhm.
that's not fair to the person that's there by themselves.
Yep.
That's not fair to either one of them.
Yeah, because when they get back, they're scrambling to try to get
No.
caught up.
Oh, absolutely,
And let's face it, if they generate 6, 8, 10, 12 bags of garbage, you throw it in the back of a truck and the person makes a
Mhm.
trip there Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday night,
Mhm.
it's taken care of.
Mhm. Yep,
good, so,
And then you don't have a janitor looking and saying, what the hell, all this get here?
yeah,
We gotta
yeah,
get someone here right away.
yeah, yeah.
Where do they store it?
Pardon?
Where do they store it? The garbage, where do they store
They
it?
have some totes or bins like that out back, behind the kitchen there, like that little festival deal there behind.
Okay, I was just wondering, I mean, drawing rodents and stuff, that's all, but
Yeah, they're keeping
Yeah.
sealed in those containers, I guess, right? They're sealed in
No, it's
those?
not a sealed container,
No,
it's bags.
not.
those are for recycling and cardboard, the containers.
Oh, so they're open, so you.
They're
could be
bags.
drawing- you
I
could-
think they're
If
bags.
they're there long enough, you could be drawing rodents.
Yeah,
Could be.
yeah.
Alright, how do we make out with the cylinder and the,
I'm not
Okay.
hearing anything later this, and I think,
you get repaired?
the cylinder for your trash compactor,
They still have an issue with it.
it's still like squeaking or,
It's supposed to be coming back, take a look at it,
yeah,
but he advised them to keep running it.
No, I mean, I didn't know it was making, I don't,
Yeah.
all I know is they were putting it in, I know, I
Yeah.
hadn't heard any more than that.
it got put in, they ran it last Saturday, seemed to be working all right for a little while, then it started squealing or something, like it's grinding or,
There's an issue with the cylinder or something, but Ed's supposed to come out, take a look at it, and
it was tested before it got here, so it
Yeah.
was functional, so.
Keep our fingers crossed that it's nothing super serious.
mm.
Anything else?
No, everything's pending, we'll probably get lots of business next week, but
Mm-hmm.
that's all I have.
Alright. Somewhere, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I do have non-public that I wanna go into
Yep.
and talk to the board about.
I was cleaning out some old stuff I had from when I was in the CIP. For the school, 2004, 2007 timeframe, I was there. I know we talked at the time about volunteers, this is I grabbed one of these, this is a spare one, they had volunteer appointment forms. I don't know if we have anything of that nature.
We had started working on,
I figured I'd bring it and leave it with you as a
Yeah.
template for if you,
yep,
you have a
because we
volunteer
had that
folder.
policy, yep, for volunteers,
That's what the
so-
school used back then, I don't know, I mean, it may need to be revised and revamped accordingly, but,
Okay.
I mean, it'd be a good start.
Yep,
You know, it's a-
because we were going to come up with,
Mhm.
a clipboard
Yep,
form that.
for the wood bank.
For the wood bank,
Yep.
but this would be a good,
Good place to
addition
start.
for them to, sign and get, keep
Yeah, I
on
mean, like I
file.
said, I don't know if that still is accurate, cause we're talking 12 years ago, so.
I'll check the RSA's.
Yeah. But I mean, if it'd be a good template to, or a good starting point for you, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. That was about all I had off the top of my head right now. I'm sure if I have something buried in the back of my head somewhere. And you
I
said,
don't have much other than you brought that up, and they used one 2 years ago when we did the bathrooms,
Oh, you've got one
which
thing
might
on-
be updated, which they may have one that's more current. I don't know, it may not have changed,
Yeah,
but it may be that they, they have a newer version that,
I'll check with them, I think, someone from the office, like Shelley, could probably confirm or ask, let me know if there's anything else, just scan it. Did you wanna bring up joint loss?
as far as, yeah, that's right too. We had a joint loss committee meeting yesterday. We went and inspected the town building,
which one?
Public Works building,
How we
and-
judge?
the garage itself. Jeff Crosby did mention that they'd like to be able to cut that concrete, and they'd like to be able to work on that door this year rather than next year. He may have monies in his budget there,
Which is maintenance
Right.
related.
as well as if we could come up with some from ours. It's gonna depend on, and I think he knows
Yeah.
that,
Right,
with the direction we're going with the roof.
Yep.
But, a combination, he said, and it might, listening to him, it may be a strain, but he might be able to do it out of his budget, but it would be a lot easier for him to live with if we could do it out of both.
Yeah.
And, he actually needs that size door for next year, so
Yeah.
rather than putting it off
Mhm.
a year, getting it done this year would be important to him.
Yeah.
So it's something we might wanna
Yeah.
really look at, and I guess when we have the numbers that you crunch for us,
yeah, next week.
would give us some idea of, what direction.
Yep.
I mean, till we
Mhm.
get started on the roof though, I have to admit that it makes it a little tough.
It
Yes, it
does, and
does.
I explained that to him, he was understanding
Yeah.
of that, but, he said he hasn't, he did his price quotes.
Yeah,
The door's gonna come in at about $3,500,
yeah,
that's not, and he said they would rent a concrete cutter
So,
for $200 for the day,
right,
and, that would take care of that and do that in-house, and then it would just be a matter of framing out the new opening to
Mhm.
accommodate the door,
Right.
so there'll be a cost there.
Yeah.
And we're looking at about,
Does he have some hard figures, I mean, as in, exactly what we're looking at, it's gonna cost us, so we can budget accordingly, I mean.
and I think he does know those numbers.
Well,
Yeah.
and I mean, no disrespect to Jeff, but he comes in with estimates, well, it should be somewhere around this and that,
Yeah.
I mean, I like to see a piece of paper and write it out, rental, door, framing, everything, I mean, so we can actually have a hard number that's reasonable that we can work with.
alright, I know we've gotten a quote on the
Yeah.
framing, so I'll see if I can
Exactly, I
get,
mean,
and that was Keith St. Pierre, and I'll see if I can get him to
so I mean,
put that in
that's a
writing.
good place to start with the quote there,
And where he does have other maintenance issues, it might be a good idea, if he does have it in his budget, to see if he can work that,
Yeah.
and then if we can have savings
Mhm.
in our maintenance budget, we may be able to help offset, so he has money in his maintenance budget
Mhm.
to finish the year. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
one way of doing it, so that at least we're going in a direction.
Right.
Cause otherwise, it seems like nothing gets done,
Yeah.
and it all gets talked about.
Right. Well, no,
Yeah, we were there to inspect the safety of the building, which was
I
very
was gonna say,
minimal.
cause the door is not germane to joint loss.
No, but
No.
I went on the inspection, cause
Mhm.
that's one of the buildings that, for the last couple of years during our budget season, we kind of put off, or we put on
Mhm.
into the kitty, but then it got pushed off because something else came up that, was priority to
Maybe
that.
one of these, before we really get in deep into budget season, when we have some time, it's not like not a heavy night, maybe we can start hitting a building or two, start the meeting.
For inspections?
So,
That would be
three
good.
of us can actually put our
Right.
eyeballs on stuff.
Right,
Yeah,
Whether it's safety, whether it's maintenance, whether,
Right.
whatever, so
Yeah.
that way we can,
yeah,
and you know, bring you ladies along, so you're aware of whatever is, and we have someone that's taking notes, so we don't forget it, cause
Yeah.
we can start rattling off stuff, and by the time we get back there, what was it again, you know, you start scratching your head and you forget it.
And they actually have put together a document, I think, with the library, and also, I'm pretty sure, the building inspection we did yesterday,
Mhm.
It's
so.
a checklist of
Yeah,
things,
so it'd be helpful to have
Yeah.
that in our
Yeah,
hand.
we'll make sure we
you
have,
know.
I'll get some.
Then we
copies
can
of
see
those.
what did get taken care of, what didn't get taken care of,
Yep.
what needs to be done.
Absolutely.
But like Jeff mentioned, he does need that door next year to accommodate the equipment he has. So, I mean, if he has money in his budget that he can compromise,
Mhm.
and that's what I'm gonna use. Cause it
Mhm.
does affect his,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
his year end.
Yeah.
And we might be able to find savings, maybe it's a good idea to have him move forward if he has it there, and then reimburse him with some monies, cause
Mhm.
we're not gonna be able to give him all the money. And I think he understands that
Yep.
Yeah.
from the talk yesterday.
Well, let's see, if we have a hard number, then we can know where we're
Yeah.
gonna start working at.
Yeah, I'll get those numbers for next week.
Alright. What else about general laws? How'd you guys do with the inspection, find any safety violations or anything?
Not really, there's a
No.
couple of
That's good.
switches, and I think one might just be a burnt out switch. I mean, they're gonna find out, but, and then you've got the lights that came from
Community center,
where?
the community center.
Right, and there's a few burnt out fixtures, which he's got, I guess, got a few of them stored there, so
Yeah,
they might be switching them out, it's just having the time to get there to
Yeah.
change that.
yeah.
Who's switching them out?
Well, they're the big halogen lights that
Right.
were in the community
Yeah.
center.
Yeah.
Rather than throw them away, they put them in a storage container,
Yeah,
and they have been replacing them as they,
as they go along,
As they-
The fixture or the bulbs?
the whole fixture. If the
Oh.
fixture's not working after they
Right.
replace the bulb, then they'll
I
replace
guess,
the
well,
fixture.
the reason I ask is this question is who's doing the electrical work?
No,
Because you have to disconnect it. I mean, unless it's an actual plug,
I think it's a plug thing.
okay.
Yeah, that's what those are, but they're not energy efficient.
No.
So
yeah.
Bob's gonna take that to the
Yeah, the
energy
energy
committee.
committee, we're gonna ask them to take a look at that.
Absolutely.
And see, again, look at it again,
Mm-hmm.
look if there's any grant money out there also.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Because I know with electrical work, the electrical inspectors, the state electrical inspectors are pretty adamant. Unless you're changing bulbs, if you get like a fluorescent light changing a ballast,
mm,
you need to be a licensed electrician to do that.
yeah, no, these aren't,
And
that's
we
it.
get ourselves in trouble,
Yeah.
especially if we burn down a building.
It would actually be nice if they could get the ones that, and I noticed that
Mhm.
most of the state buildings now are only activated when you walk in,
Yeah, the motion
Nice,
sensor.
yeah, yeah,
you know?
yeah,
The motion sensor
Yeah.
switch that they have,
Exactly,
it's like a
Yeah.
$250 switch.
but in the end,
Yep.
you're saving monies.
right.
True, yeah, I mean, it's got a very long shelf life,
Right.
so.
So you're walking in and out, it only goes on when you're in, when there's no one there, there's no movement,
Yep.
Yeah.
it's out, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything else? Anything else? What else?
That's it.
Well then, having a kickoff is coming, we're gonna go into public comment. Will,
Almost there.
Woody?
Just a couple of things, those lights, they're not plug lights, those are hardwired lights.
Those are hard wires, so they would have to
Yeah.
replace them by
Those
electrician,
are
okay?
hardwired lights.
Um,
And the issue with the trash, that's just a scheduling deal, it really is. All the guys have to do, one guy comes in a little early, before they start down there in the morning, come up and pick it up. Wednesdays, they're already in early, they're coming in an hour early on Wednesday, so that's an easy day. Thursdays, they're there anyways, you know what I mean, they're there working, so that's Thursday's not an issue. Saturday, if you actually stopped and looked at it, if one guy came in 20 minutes, half hour, whatever early, he's getting paid for it.
Yeah.
As I know there was, on one of the videos, there was a comment about the guys being questioned about why they had to come in at 1:15. Well, they've always gotten paid for it, I don't want anyone to think that they've never gotten paid. When they start at 7:45, they're on the clock, they're getting paid. They would find that they could actually lessen some of their load on Tuesdays if they pick up Saturday, because what has happened before I went up, we would pick up Saturday, and before we open, 3 guys or 4 guys, whoever's there, takes that 15 minutes, processes all the material from the school, guess what? It's not there for Tuesday for one guy to try and process when he's got, 3 commercial haulers coming or whatever, two commercial haulers coming in, that one thing is already done. So, where I'm out, and I had spoke to the staff about doing that prior to me leaving, was that, just come in half hour early, whatever, come in 15 minutes, whatever it is, so it doesn't take that long to shoot up here, load up, and go back down. They don't have to bring the containers back, cause we have double containers now, so it's just a matter of picking it up, going down, and process that material,
Yeah.
while you have a full staff there, that you're gonna have for
So
the day.
Saturday's the preferred day because of the staffing.
Right, and
Yeah.
pick Tuesday morning, come up, and there's usually not a lot, it's the trash from Monday. And what we've done, and I'm sure it was a hindsight, it's no big deal, but what we've typically done is had someone come in on like the big event, like Old Home Day, where we know there's gonna be a boatload of material. Usually the next day, Sunday, one of the guys comes in, picks everything up, it picks up down the school, from the ham bean supper and other events, the Explorers Breakfast, and guess what? They've taken care of that, so now it's not a burden on Tuesday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
But on the other hand too, I think they've been trying to be careful not to go over their hours.
Right, but something like that, that's understandable.
Yeah.
And there's a little flex there. What I've explained to him is that, stay within your 32, but, there's room in there to play. I get it, they're busy, I've talked to them, but there is room in there. I just didn't want them seeing putting 38, 40 hours in consistently. One, cause legally there's an issue there when an employee puts consistent 40
Only,
hours in, that kind of thing.
but if it's temporary, in this
Right.
case, this would fall under temporary
Right.
because your situation.
But I mean, they, there's room to do that, you just need to take the initiative and do it.
Yeah.
And then that would alleviate, and I think that, I've talked to Lee before in the past, and I think the only issue is, I don't think he expects them to come right up that minute, just communicate back with them, it's all communication.
yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
hey, we'll get to you, they haven't
Yeah.
forgot about you, kind of thing, and,
Yeah.
he's very reasonable to work with, Owen's very reasonable to work with.
Yeah.
So, I think it's just a little, it's a little glitch and we can get through it, it's not gonna be a big issue.
Yep. Good.
Anything else, sir? Appreciate that, thank you. All right, here I know the public, seen, we'll close public comment. So, that being said, I guess we'll entertain a motion to adjourn, because we want a non-public for that, and get out and go home.
Okay, so move to adjourn.
No, well,
Oh, move to go into
non-public,
non-public, excuse me.
per RSA 91-A:32C.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta be